Hello, everyone. Wonderful to be back here in Berlin at the WeAreDevelopers show. This is our third year here, and it's always a pleasure to talk to our community of developers and technologists. So thank you again. So today I'm here to talk to you about the future of Stack Overflow as the most vital and trusted source for technologists. So, a lot's been happening over the past couple of decades, right? We've got, obviously, the mobile era, you've got the cloud computing kind of boom, you've got, obviously, distributed teams, and now, of course, AI. Stack Overflow has been, obviously, throughout that journey, evolving and continuously sort of adapting to what's happening. So you've got the original Stack Overflow creation back in 2008, the expansion in Stack Exchanges, now with 180 websites on all sorts of topics. We had the launch of careers and talent. Many people got jobs off the website. They continue to do that. And now, in 2018, we launched our private internal version of Stack Overflow for companies to use that's now used by about 15,000 companies as their private knowledge repository inside their companies. So the obvious question is, in 2023 and beyond, what is Stack Overflow going to do in the case of AI, or specifically in the era of AI? So there's a lot happening in this world, right? You've got a lot more sources of information. Different types of developers of different age groups like to consume information through different media. It's not all about Q&A. You get a lot of instant answers now. Instant gratification is the thing through AI tools. You can get a lot get done through that. And of course, you have other places where you can also engage. So the best thing that we thought we could do to answer this question is to ask all of you. So hopefully you know about our developer survey that we conduct every year. For those of you that have participated either this year or in the past, thank you for doing that, because it drives a lot of learnings about what matters to developers. And again, you folks are in the middle of what we think about every day. And a couple of statistics stood out to us, and I wanted to share them with you. And this literally just closed, and we will be publishing the full results in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for that. But as a preview, one statistic that's quite obvious is the adoption of AI in your coding workflow. So clearly, that's been increasing. There's a lot of enthusiasm. We use a lot of coding tools inside Stack Overflow to write code. So we're big embracers. So that percentage has gone up from 70 to call it about 80% over the past 3 years. Not much of a surprise. People are generally using it. How often they use it is sort of variable depending on who they are, but that's happening. But the statistic that stood out to us this year, for the most part, is the statistic around trust. So over the past couple of years, we always noticed that the trust level was about 40% or so, right? 40% of the people that took the survey trusted AI outputs. This year, it basically decreased to 29%. And the amount of distrust in AI content went up by about 5 to 10 percentage points. So this is not surprising in some ways, because we all have been there. Anybody that's written code using AI tools, which I suspect is the vast majority of you, know that you're going to get stuck in some sort of an endless loop at some point when the complexity is too high, or it's going to hallucinate every so often, and you just don't know if it's accurate or not. The costs of being inaccurate could be really, really high, especially if you're working on a high-stakes project, either for a company or a client, or in your own big company, let's say in a bank. And so trust is sort of central. It's a very, very sort of important thing. The other question that's associated with this that we asked about was, when would you want to talk to a fellow developer, a human being? And the answer at the top of the list was, when I don't trust the output of the AI output. And so this is also, and of course, other things around the best practices and all those other things that you can imagine. So that was quite fascinating to us, that trust, again, is central to why people really sort of want to sort of balance it with the use of AI. So, you may have heard of this term called AI slop. I think it was mentioned in the prior sort of session. There's a lot of AI-generated content on the internet, more generally speaking. So you really don't know what you can trust and what you can't trust. So the number of sources that are out there as truly human-generated or human-validated at a minimum sources of trustworthy knowledge are very, very few. We are one of those places, in our opinion, thanks to all the work of many of you that contribute to the corpus of knowledge that we have on the public platform. And so this, even in Neil Stephenson's book, some of you may be fans of that, this whole notion that you could be, it could look right, but then there's something really wrong right at the bottom and could completely turn your world upside down. So there's that risk even in code, because as you've probably experienced those endless loops of having to it's like playing the casino when you're running a Gen AI functionality. So that's important to sort of consider. And of course, Stack Overflow, through this meticulous human-curated knowledge, has become a tremendous source, an accurate source of information, which we're very proud of, thanks to all your contributions to all the Gen AI tools that are now being powered by Stack Overflow. Mostly now officially, after a couple of years of working with all these partners, and I'll talk about that in a short while. And so we have now become the vital and trusted source for technologists. And this is human-powered. It's bringing the human judgment, the validation, while we're fueling and harnessing the power of AI to benefit all of us, to drive forward in much more automated ways and faster ways. And of course, we've talked historically about this, where humans are able to, again, it's in service of humans. It's not the other way around. And ultimately, we're doing this both on the public Stack Overflow site, as well as on the private internal version of Stack Overflow, as I mentioned. So the future, in summary, is in 2023 and beyond, it's absolutely about AI and data. The page has turned. This is obviously going to be a very meaningful new chapter for the world, and we are obviously very, very focused on this inside the company. So our vision, which we actually just refreshed, is to be the world's most trusted or vital source for technologists. And vital we use interchangeably with trusted in our minds, only because that's sort of a core concept in our heads. And the mission for us is about, in a world where AI is going to dominate, we want to do three things. Number one, we want to cultivate community. Many of you are here. This conference is bigger than ever, primarily because you want to be part of your tribe. We all want to be part of our fellow developers and technologists and navigate all this change. So we want to do everything we can to cultivate community. This is much broader than a Q&A platform, just for a second. I'll mention this in a sec. The second part is powering learning, is how do we make sure, especially for the junior developers, I really sort of wonder what's in their minds. Because if you think about a junior developer starting right now, how do we make sure they're not taking the shortcuts? Because even if they use a vibe coding tool, et cetera, at some point they're going to have to figure out how to debug things, how to fix it, because they're going to be in a situation where something's not going to work. For sure. We know that for the foreseeable future. At that point, that person hopefully has learned the fundamentals. So how do we help them with that? How do we make sure they do the right things in the spirit of their learning? And thirdly, how do we unlock growth for all of them, both in their careers, to help them progress in their careers through this pure and beautiful network of people that we have, so that they can progress, they can learn, they can get better, and also unlocking growth in their companies when they're actually trying to be productive within those organizations. So to give you a view of all this, to bring this to life, I'll talk about two things. What are we doing on the public platform, and what are we doing on our enterprise side? And then I'm going to have Jody Bailey, our Chief Product and Technology Officer, come out and show you many of the features that are now live, effective right now. Literally, our team pushed things into production, so you can actually go try them out yourselves. And so first, on the public platform, we have obviously 183 websites, and our overall business is supported through advertising, which is only about 25% of our company's revenues. So thankfully, we're not a content site like many sites are, which are suffering from traffic and those other internet issues. But we have our Stack Overflow Internet internal product, which used to be known as Stack Overflow for Teams. We've just renamed it as Stack Internal, which is now used by 15,000 organizations. Like the world's largest banks use this software, the biggest healthcare companies, retail companies. And then we obviously now introduced over the past couple of years Stack Data Licensing, which allows us to leverage our corpus of data to power these AI tools that all of you are using, and we ultimately charge a recurring revenue fee to all the AI companies that now pay us for this data so that we can continuously keep moving forward. So our company is, while we're known to be a Q&A platform, and I'm sure you've seen all the social media charts of the number of questions going down on the public platform, that is true in the context of simple questions. Because simple questions are now being answered in ChatGPT or any AI tool that you use, and that's okay, because the user interface has sort of changed. We are powering it sort of more behind the scenes, and previously you went to a Google search engine, asked a question, clicked on the link to a Stack Overflow answer that probably popped up on the first link, and you came to Stack. and then you went to Stack Overflow sometimes as a newer developer. When I first used Stack Overflow, I asked a very silly question. Somebody slapped me on my wrist and said, "That's a duplicate. I'm closing it out." And so that happens all the time. So the fact that that doesn't happen anymore on the site is okay, because what is happening is that the new information on new questions, AI-related questions, newer technology questions, continues to accrue on the site, and that corpus of information keeps going up. But we also have a view on how do we evolve beyond just a Q&A website. So back in March, I actually spoke to a bunch of our community members, and I described our vision, which is all around making sure that we can expand beyond just a Q&A site into something that's a lot more multidimensional to realize that mission that we have now refreshed, which is to cultivate community, to power learning, and to ultimately unlock growth. So all the features that we are now pursuing on the site is in the spirit of doing that. How do we make sure that we connect people in thoughtful ways with experts on the site using things like chat? How do we make sure that we are driving learning through things like code challenges and making sure that people are constantly getting recognized for learning things, and that can be utilized as they grow their careers? They're becoming smarter on AI tools. They also know the fundamentals. So this is like a great developer who can actually be very useful for you. Or even in unlocking growth in the context of in the context of making sure that it's for your career, you're able to really do productive things and get monetize the fact that you're actually learning things. So, and then maybe one thing that stands out here is that when you think about the things that are actually live on the site, there are many things that are already live, like discussions, which is a looser form of Q&A, a different space than the canonical Q&A. We've got obviously things like jobs and with our partnership with Indeed that you can go and apply for jobs on the site. But most recently, we've been focusing on, based on your feedback, human-to-human chat. That's if you want to go to the site and be able to talk to a Python expert or maybe a Kubernetes expert or any of the AI technologies, we've now enabled a whole bunch of chat rooms where people now are spending time in, and we have based on popular demand, we have focused on that. We have also enabled an AI-first experience, which we're going to talk about here, which went live literally just before we came on. And that is available to be tried, where you're able to then take the issues that you're having with your Gen AI experience to be able to pipe it into Stack Overflow through the AI-first experience, get unstuck in whatever loop you're in through the corpus of information that you have. And then even if that doesn't work, you'll be able to engage directly on the site through the experts on the site with let's say, a direct chat with somebody who's an expert, or through Q&A or through any other mechanism that you've got. So we've been able to orchestrate that. And then finally, things like code challenges, as I explained, we'll also talk about that here today. So all this is in the spirit of moving pretty quickly and responding to feedback, and we've been doing this quite rapidly with your help. So we did this back in March. We got your feedback and we rolled it out, and thanks to our team for being responsive to your feedback. The other part I'll mention is around the business. Just to set that up is beyond ads, we have obviously the internal and data licensing products, and that's all now what we began to see over the past year is that that's seemingly powering a lot of AI initiatives inside companies, because the APIs of our products are red hot in being utilized in things like AI search, in chatbots, in assistants, and agents, if you define it as we're still, I think, still landing on a definition for agents, truly performing actions and so on, and that's increasingly what's happening with our internal Stack Overflow product. And the prime example of this is Uber, one of our many customers of Stack Overflow internal. They have thousands of questions on Stack Overflow internal within their company, and they've got something like, they've built an AI chatbot called Genie at Uber that taps into this very trustworthy, human-curated by subject matter experts platform that we have, and it's powering those AI agents to then go into Slack channels and effectively answer a whole bunch of repetitive questions that seemingly are being asked, so that they don't bother the experts, all of you, who are constantly getting tapped on the shoulder about the same questions over and over again. So that's one small example of how people are driving tremendous amount of productivity and ultimately delivering developer happiness to all of you to make sure that you're feeling productive in your own careers. And this experience of Stack Internal is well beyond what you see on the public platform. It integrates into all your regular synchronous tools like Slack and Microsoft Teams and, of course, GitHub and other things, along with other software that companies seem to have inside their organizations, obviously. 2 years ago, we launched our Overflow AI, our AI functionality. We'll talk to you about the public platform elements that I mentioned here shortly. That's live. On the Stack internal product, 70% of our customers are now using our AI features. So this includes things like AI search, semantic search summarization. It surfaces Stack public content in their IDE. It showcases the same Stack internal or Stack Overflow public content in the Slack channels. So it's able to effectively surface Stack wherever the developer is in their workflow. So that is quite encouraging for us. And the reason is because we're again bringing together this really, really high quality knowledge, both on the public platform as well as whatever's inside your company, to make it sort of a knowledge intelligence layer, so that ultimately the human in the loop is able to say this is accurate information that can then be trusted to then power your AI agents or assistants or co-pilots inside your companies. And you can really then be able to feel confident about what you're doing with AI tools. And then data licensing, as I mentioned, we have struck many, many partnerships with OpenAI and Google and all the other sort of names that you'd expect, where we have effectively been able to power these AI agents. Along with, by the way, now our data is accessible on things like the Databricks and Snowflake marketplaces. So all of you that want to leverage the public Stack Overflow data in your companies in the context of building applications, if you need the data to be leveraged in things like RAG and indexing sort of use cases, you can go get them from the marketplace pretty easily. And the quality of the data, thanks to the meticulous nature of the curation, is extremely high, where things like the human eval score have expanded from 5 to 9. On average, you see like about a 40% improvement in the accuracy of answers. So in summary, the mission around cultivating community, powering learning, and unlocking growth, we really feel like we want to put you at the heart of what we're doing, developers, and everything that we want to do, both inside and outside your companies. We want to serve you in these ways. And we also have a collective responsibility, in my opinion, to make sure that for this to be sustainable, for AI to be sustainable, you need that human creation of knowledge, because you need new data, you need new novel concepts to ultimately feed the AI models that ultimately get better over time. And that's very important for us. So I think we have sort of we call responsible AI, where you're bringing humans and AI together for the betterment of society and all of us as a community. So with that, let me bring on Jody Bailey, who's going to walk you through a few demos of the features that I just covered. So please welcome Jody Bailey.
Thank you, sir. Thanks. All right, great to be here. So community is at the heart of Stack Overflow. For over 15 years, it's been a place to ask questions, get answers, but at the end of the day, it's really about technologists coming together and being able to interact with each other. At the same time, sometimes it's hard to know if anybody else is there, if you're really able to ask somebody a question or not. So what we're doing is we're experimenting with a way to see activity on the site. Just think of it as kind of the heartbeat of the community, which is the center of Stack Overflow, right? The heart of Stack Overflow is activity. So it's just a simple way to let you know that there are people there that can interact with you. Now, as we expand the site and start adding these other content types and ways to interact on Stack Overflow that Prashanth mentioned, we want to highlight the activity there as well. So if, for example, there's a coding challenge going on, you can see how many people are there. Or if there is an active chat conversation, you can see who's going on there, and you can actually go over and interact with people there. Just to know that you're not alone, right? And when it comes to community and really being able to connect with people, at the end of the day, you kind of need to talk to people, right? And so we brought chat back and made it front and center on our site and made it easier for people to participate. So in the past, you had to have a certain reputation score in order to be able to even participate in chat. And we've created new experiences on the site that make it easier for everybody to interact, so that you can come as a new person and ask a simple question and get feedback. We've also created these rooms in the home page and made them more accessible, giving you filtering. We look at what tags you're using to create homepage chat rooms for you, as well as anything that might be active and trending. So in the Stack Overflow lobby, the idea here is, again, you can have a casual conversation and ask simple questions, right? And you may get answers to those questions there, things that you wouldn't necessarily create a Stack Overflow question for. On the other hand, you might be pointed to a place where the answer already exists or another way of getting that information by an expert that's on the site. It's a way to interact with people and actually connect. Now, as staying on top of technology has always been hard. And with AI, things are moving so fast, it's even more challenging. How do you learn the new skills? How do you validate the skills? How do you demonstrate proficiency? Those are all things that we want to look at. But Stack Overflow has always been about questions and answers, and high quality questions and answers. And we're going to continue to support that. We're going to continue to nurture that. At the same time, we recognize everybody wants an answer faster. We want it to be easier, less intimidating. So we need to look at a way to make it easier for people to interact on Stack so that you can come and ask any question and interact with technologists and not feel like you're going to be scolded or slapped on the hand, as Prashanth mentioned. So one of the things that we're doing is really experimenting with an AI-first interface. And Prashanth asks me all the time, what are the things I'm most excited about? And this is one of them. And not necessarily as it sits today, because what we're trying to do is get things out into the community and work with people and get feedback and iterate, but because of what this can be, right? So right now, most of us have experience working with chat. We'll ask questions, whether it's in your IDE, whether it's one of the tools. But oftentimes what happens is as you're asking that question, you reach a dead end, or maybe you're not confident. You saw the stats from the dev survey, confidence is way low on the answers. Or you may run into a dead end as you're doing something in your IDE and get stuck, and you want to import that content and actually bring it over and ask a question about that. So we also have an import capability where you reach a certain dead end, you're getting stuck someplace else, you're not quite sure where to go. You can import it into our experience, and within that, you have the opportunity to get back an answer. We want to try to provide a learning experience where it's not just about answers, but why are these answers useful or important? And most importantly, we want to be able to ground it to actual human content and interaction. But the other thing that's really important to realize is that if you get to that point and it's just still not what you need, you can still ask a question, right? And we'll drop you into the Ask a Question wizard. And the idea here is help you create a good question and avoid some of the pitfalls that often happen the first time you ask a question, and get answers more quickly via the traditional Q&A process. All right, so the other thing as we're thinking about upskilling, as we're thinking about demonstrating proficiency and skills, we're experimenting with a new way of interacting, engaging on the community, something called coding challenges. And this is just what it sounds like. It's an opportunity to participate in a challenge where you have a coding mission, if you will, where we give you a certain challenge that you need to code to. The idea behind these right now is we want to make them fun and engaging. We want to leave them open-ended so you can solve it in any way you want. Use whatever code you want. You can think about how you want to address it. Do you want to do something really creative and fun? Are you really looking at how can I do this most efficiently and effective? Basically, we want to make it easy for you to solve these in any way you want, any language, any technology, right? It's all done over a predetermined amount of time. You have the opportunity to discuss your solution with other people. Other people can provide feedback as you're going. You can ask questions. You can continue to iterate. And then we have a voting system like question and answer. And we recognize the winners of these different areas and understand that there are different ways to be successful. The idea with this is eventually we continue to expand and provide more and more ways to learn on the site, but also a way to get credibility for the learning that you've done and demonstrate amongst your peers your skills that are hopefully transferable as you progress in your career. As Prashanth mentioned, all these things are live now on Stack Overflow and stackoverflow.ai. You can navigate back and forth between the two of them. We're just getting started. I'm really excited about getting feedback and iterating and really building this for all of you, for all of us. And so please, when you have a chance, go and check out the new capabilities and let us know what you think. All right, so as we're working through and everybody's starting to use different AI tools in the enterprise and the organization, how do we ensure that we're able to be successful. One of the challenges is AI, especially in an organization, how do you know or how do you incorporate the proprietary information in your company? What we're looking to do with Stack Internal is really provide that trusted essential data layer, right? Knowledge layer, if you will. And the way we do this, and Prashanth touched on this a little bit, is we look at importing data from wherever it is in your enterprise or your business. And I don't know about you, my experience, regardless of how big the organization is, you have multiple copies of information. Once you write documentation, it's immediately out of date. How do you know it's the right source? It's multiple places. So we're looking to import that information and then leverage the trust mechanisms that are part of Stack Overflow or Stack Internal. Use that to identify the information you can trust and then make it available to you wherever you are. So the three things that I'm going to touch on real quickly: knowledge ingestion, MCP server, and then connectors. These are things that we're adding. Again, knowledge ingestion, I talked a little bit about that. What we're doing is we're bringing that information in, and we're doing it in a way that we're leveraging our partners' experience. So among many of the partners our company is working with to get the right solution in place, Eli Lilly, Mercado Libre, and Xerox. And we're doing this to make sure that we actually deliver solutions that are useful and valuable to our customers and the people in those spaces. The idea is that by bringing this information in, using AI, ML, we're actually able to interpret it, put it into the appropriate format where we can use the trust mechanisms within Stack Overflow. We'll also put it into different groups of content that's being ingested so that you can the organization can do it by tags, they can do it by different metadata that's available to them. And then, of course, we'll identify where you're importing the data from in case you want to go back or if you want to focus on a particular area. The other thing that we do is as we're bringing it in, we're assessing, creating a confidence level. So how confident are we that this is accurate information? That can be based on recency, relevance, who created the article, are there duplicates, etc. The idea is to establish a confidence score. So if it's above a certain confidence score, you don't need to worry about it, right? You can say, yep, this is good, we're trusted. But if it's below that confidence score, the subject matter experts, which we're able to identify within the company, can then go in and either edit it, delete it, or just publish it, right? So all that's great, but nobody really wants to have to go back to another site if you're in your IDE and working, right? So that's where the MCP server comes in. So what we're doing is essentially making it available so that you can use it wherever you are. A simple example in VS Code, it's super easy to add an MCP server. Once it's installed, then you can just have a chat conversation, ask questions, interact with Stack Overflow. Of course, if you want to text the tools in the MCP server, you can do that too. Ultimately, you get the answer, you're able to link back, get the attribution. The way that's presented varies based on the tool you're integrating with, but essentially you're able to go over, drill down, and get the detailed information and know where the source is entrusted. And then last but not least are connectors with other third parties. So these are three new ones. Microsoft 365, the whole ecosystem integrates with Stack Internal so that you're able to pull information directly into the ecosystem there. MoveWorks has built an agent with us that allows you to interact through natural language, interact via Slack or MS Teams and ask questions directly through the agent for Stack. And then Backstage is, as you know, a developer portal, and we surface up a Stack Internal page there that you can interact with. So a simple example, Copilot, you ask a question, we bring back technical sources, you can click on the details, you can get into it and understand. So just in summary, on the public platform, stackoverflow.ai, super excited about that, looking for your feedback. Again, we're iterating and going to continue to make that better. Chat, same thing, challenges, all these things are available for you to go and try now. Coming on Stack Internal, our business solution is the knowledge ingestion, MCP server, both public and private. So we're looking at MCP server for the public Stack platform as well as the Stack Internal, and then of course the connectors. So with that, I will turn it back to Prashanth and we'll wrap up. Thank you.
Thank you, Jody.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thanks. All right, hopefully you folks are excited about that. So in conclusion, obviously our mission is really, really key and been refreshed. It's all about you, serving you. So we also wanted to refresh our identity now that we've going to turn to a new chapter at Stack Overflow. So many years ago, Jeff Atwood and Joel Spolsky ultimately asked what the site should be named back in 2008, and all of you actually, or many of your predecessors in some cases, named the site as Stack Overflow after kind of a community poll. So similarly, we asked folks as we refresh our identity, our mission and vision now have been sort of defined, we want to refine our brand, and so our team went away and asked you what this should be, and then they came up with a bunch of designs, and they're very excited about maybe all the potential options. And so what we wanted to do is get all your feedback. So if you want to pick up your phone and actually click on take a snap with the QR code, or go to s.tk/WAD25, as in stack s.tk/WeAreDevelopers25. And you can vote on one of the two options that our brand will look like going forward. And that's what our team wanted to do. We want to do this with you. We want to make sure that we build with your collaboration. And we want to do this, because all of what we do is for you. And so that's really the end in terms of our mission, which is in terms of our presentation. We really want to make sure that we serve you as developers and make sure that we take your feedback into account. So continue to provide us your feedback on Meta, which can also be accessed at s.tk/meta, or if you've been on Meta Stack Exchange, you know what that is. So thank you, and look forward to hearing from you. Appreciate it.